Alright, test. Just getting a few last things ready, and then we'll get the stream started. Alright, test. Just getting a few last things ready, and then we'll get the Alright. Let's lower the curtain. Hope everyone's having a decent Monday so far. If you saw the photos I posted, share the stream link. You know, the goal for today's stream, we're gonna shoot for the 2 hours like usual, but I'm okay if this stream is like only closer to 90 minutes. But the goal today is to finish these 3 models. They've all gotten past the wash stage. Now I do think I need to go get some fresh paint water first. The sponge is looking a little dry. Also, the paper has definitely been punctured in multiple spots. So, let me just grab some fresh water real quick. Alright, here we go. And if this project was gonna take like, I mean, ideally I want to finish this project this week. That's thinking a little optimistically. If not this week, next week for sure. If it was gonna take any longer than that, I would have like changed the paper, since like this one has a couple holes in it, but I figured like we're kind of in the home stretches, let's just use this paper. If the sponge gets a little stained, it's not really a big deal. So if I'm going by my usual logic of yeah, I can see like water coming up through some of the spots with holes, but we still have this untouched area of the palette that we can utilize when we need. Hello, Roy MS06. Going by my usual painting logic, I need to do the camera is jittering. Let's fix that. We need to do the black first, and yeah, we're finishing up with all these models, so that's basically some highlighting. Camera's not turning back on. Interesting. Oh boy, what's going on? Just needed to be turned off and on one more time, I guess. Is the jittering happening? No, okay. Anyways, let's highlight some black. There are a couple areas of black that just need the base coat reapplied, and there was just going to be some really basic gray highlighting. Now let's add a little bit more. Couple dollops. Yeah, it's like when I was painting the gold on here, I was just kind of slopping it on to get good coverage before the wash, because I knew like the brown wash on the black highlight, like it'll be fine to just clean it up after. Which is what we're doing now. Let's just move the camera a little bit. I think that's a bit more comfortable. Alright, and let me know if the mic or background music volume should be adjusted. And we might do a tiny bit, like in terms of the black highlighting, we'll definitely be doing some edge highlighting on the bow. But I'm not sure if it may be like a bit on the scabbard on the body, but like the black trim of the jacket, it's so small, I don't know if it's gonna need a highlight. It's always that pesky drop of water that hangs out on the ferrule of the brush and then slides down and over thins your paint. Yeah, I can see it forming right there. And of course, this is the fancy leader bow, because it's got two arms or whatever you call it. It's two bows. It's a double compound something or other. I don't know if this counts as a compound bow or not. I'm not enough of a archery person. It's not one of my hobbies. I remember enjoying it a bit as a kid though. You know, you just pretend you're Legolas. Might have spilled a bit over the line there. There'll probably be a bit of gold touching up to do near the end anyways. Oh no, I don't think I didn't go over the line, I just didn't get close enough to the line on the other side. Yeah, I don't think I need to bother with edge highlighting the trim of the jacket. I suppose I could if I want to. In terms of tidying up a black base coat though, I don't have to do any more, so let's just give the bow on this guy a little check. Slash on his jacket. Alright, not really any cleanup needed there. And I don't think here either. Oh, there's a just coffee water burp for you. Let's update the counter. Alright, now there's a bit of gray on the palette here. I think I can probably just recycle it. Yeah, that's working. The black's right next to it, so we do want a fairly dark gray. It's looking fairly close to what we want. Start with it on the darker side. And this is just some real basic edge highlighting, I suppose we'll call it. And on the shoes, we can be a bit rough with the highlights. So it looks kind of like some roughed up leather that's done a lot of trekking, so to speak. Something's telling me this is a little too dark. Alright. Yeah, that's maybe, I think that's a right amount of brightness, actually. And hopefully I can just maintain this spontaneous mix for the next two. Yeah, as I'm like scooping up more on the palette, it's like mixing in a bit of the gray and getting a little bit lighter, kind of. And also this is going to be the final 100 Kingdoms painting live stream for the time being. I figured this stream I can take these 3 minis to completion, and it could be a good just representation of the final stage of painting. And then I just need to power through these 12 archers, finish them all off camera, so they're ready in time for the tournament on the 24th. And so probably after this stream, probably be a couple weeks before there's another one. Next projects on the list, one of them, it's like kind of like finally wrapping up the initial like prepping stages of my entire Nord's army. Nord's army isn't going to be the next painting project, but I just want to get like all the minis to the point where they're all based and the basing materials locked in, because I find that a really tedious stage. But like once that stage is over, all the other work that needs to be done the mini is like purely paint work. Once I kind of consider gluing the basing material onto the base, which for almost every mini I use my same just mixture of sand locked in with PVA glue. I consider that part of the building stage in a way. And so if I can get my whole Nord's army like actually based, then I'll consider that like a really solid place to just like call that like the building part done. And I'm not counting the minis that are like still in box and unbuilt. That's like that's like the next phase that's different. So if it'd be nice to get the Nord's army to like finished building and basing. I won't worry about getting them all primed until I've like set aside a solid chunk of time to like actually paint the Nord's army. which won't be for a while because we need to work on the gunpla contest entry for the spring. And I haven't decided if I'm gonna like film the building process like in my videos in the past. I don't think I'll ever do like the full-blown ASMR sequence again. If anything, I'll do like a condensed ASMR thing just to like give the people that yearn for the clacks like a little bit of fan service. So I'll either do that, some sort of like condensed ASMR thing for a video, or I'll just stream the whole building process. I'm kind of leaning towards that, but I haven't decided yet. Because it's like it's a project that the project itself has a deadline. The video part will not have a deadline, but because it's like a video project, thought process for kind of every stage takes a bit longer, a bit more planning. This is like a very rough highlight on the bow. And just a little bit on the scabbard here. Oh, we need to do the boots too. I have my window open. There's some birds squawking outside, but I don't think you all can hear it. And if you can, hopefully it's just good background noise and not super annoying. It's actually warm enough to have the window open and get some fresh air, which is always nice. Alright, time for the final black highlight. Which I think we need just a little bit of gray back on the palette to do. I could switch to a crispier brush, but I don't think I really need to. I'm gonna mix with the crappy brush right now though. And we only want to go a bit brighter than the highlight we just did. Probably like that. We'll only know if this is the right brightness after we apply it some. Also, the sculpt on this, like, sidearm, the handle is kind of, like, warped. A little quirk of this. Yeah, that's probably fine. Alright, the bow is where the real concentration is gonna happen. Alright, so far so good on this side. I could go back to the pure black to just reinforce that base tone a bit, but I don't mind the somewhat messy look, to be honest. It's army painting, you know what I mean? Now that I'm looking at the back of this piece, though, I'm like, okay, maybe that could be cleaned up a bit. Yeah, now whether I want to clean that up much, that's the main question. I do think I want to edge highlight the trim of the jacket just a little bit, but we don't want to go with like the bright tone we were just using. Just one basic highlight there will do as well. And just a little bit up on the collar here. And before I move on to any of the next models, I do just want to get the black on this one fully done. Which I think is going to involve going back to our pure black. Just to tidy up the bow a little bit. While the paint's wet, I can kind of rub it off the edges where I don't want to erase the highlights I just did. Ooh, this is taking some concentration, let me tell you. And just want a little teeny edge highlight on the quiver here, because we did paint the trim black after all. I think you can call the black on this one done. Alright. Not as much of an edgy bow to highlight on this one. It's mostly just picking out the ridges of this here jacket. The final details of the jacket that'll shine, of course, will be the metal studs, which we'll be painting near the very end. I made that line a bit too thick, so I just immediately went to the darker black, gray on the palette to paint just up to the edge to fix it. Alright, and I mean, I'm not going to bother with the tiny scabbards there because they're very, very obscured. Alright, just gotta do a tiny bit more on the boot. I guess I could just leave the boots. The arm, the bicep strapped dagger scabbard. Could give that a little edge highlight. Alright, now this one, who has the same torso, but a bow that will require a bit more. Did I do the top of this one? I could do the front-facing side of the bow, actually, just real quick. Alright. Let's start with the bow on this one. I didn't really do the first round of highlight on this bow, but the bow's pretty thin, so it doesn't really need it. I believe one properly applied edge highlight should be sufficient. And it's tempting to put like an artificial ridge by painting a gray line down the middle of this section here, but I'm gonna resist. I did that on the last bow because there was like a ridge kind of in the sculpt. It was a little subtle, but it was there. And the paint does have or when I'm like, if I wait too long between rinsing off the brush, some like dry bits of paint will just accumulate on the tip, which we don't want really. Alright, bow's done. Let's do the jacket. Yeah, and this gray I'm using right now really isn't that much brighter than the last one, but subtlety is okay. Most of the eye-grabbing stuff is going to be the metal studs, like I said. And it depends on how the metal stud painting goes. It might warrant a little, just a quick selective metallic wash at the very, very end. Alright, I think that's the black highlights done. Now I think it makes sense to do the kind of burgundy. There's the two main browns. There's like the leather strap brown and the jacket brown. Jacket brown is a bit darker, so we're gonna do that one. And that highlight's just going to be pure dark flesh tone, and I think just one pass is probably going to be sufficient. And there is like a hole in this paint here, so I'm going to or a hole in the palette paper, so I'm going to kind of try and contain it a bit away from there. This paper is on its last legs, but I think it can last till the end of the project. And this is like where I don't want the paint to be thinned too much, because getting kind of like a rough texture is almost like good. Simulates the kind of rugged battlefield leather, if that makes sense. At least the way I'm painting these jackets, it's like they're thick leather. You know, the unit on the tabletop is very squishy. It's only defense 1. So, but it's still, like, you gotta have some armor, so a nice, like, thick leather jacket seems about right. It's like, I don't think people are heading to battle in just, like, a cloth jacket. I mean, some people are. The chapter mage ain't going into battle with much armor-wise. But the chapter mage is a character model, so that's different. It's more important to just aura farm as a character. This is a nice color to work with. Like, that's done already. It barely took any time. Hello, Sparkster 8044. Ooh, that's a dad tier joke right there. Yeah, getting the faces painted like relatively early, like before the washing stages, really helps the kind of second half of the batch painting process feel more manageable. So that you obviously got to worry about, like, you don't want to mess up and paint onto the face that you've already finished. But as long as, like, being careful with that is easier than, like, doing the face near the end, I find. Could do a second round of highlight on these browns, but it's kind of one of the supporting colors in the color scheme. It's not like one of the accent ones like the green. So I don't think I'm going to. Yeah, almost like kind of dry brushing the quiver here in a way. It's gotta have that toughened leather look. Alright, on to the third. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the colors compare on these ones to the Imperial Rangers that I painted. Geez, when was that now? Maybe about a year ago? Or was it 2 years ago? I'm using like the same colors, but like there's a significant gap of painting time in between. Spilt a bit onto the green there. Wonder if I can mop it up. Yeah. This one, the jacket's red, obviously, so the boots get this alternate brown color. Spill a bit onto the boot there. But I mopped it up fast enough. Alright, now just gotta do the quiver. It's almost like a dry brush I'm doing there. Almost. Alright. Okay, I think there's just a little bit I could do more on the boot here. The boot that's more visible, which, the right boot. We could define that detail just a tiny bit more. Okay, I think now the next color to highlight will be the other brown, the burnt umber. And especially on the leather straps on this guy's arm here, because of where the mold line was that needed to be scraped off, it's kind of like the straps kind of blend into each other. So if we get some carefully applied highlights, can help define that a bit more and make it look a bit less crap. Just need a bit of paint. And just the base coat again, without mixing in any highlight, I think will be good enough. But maybe we should just add just a teeny bit of this khaki that's like already here. At least for those arm straps I was just talking about, because they are kind of directly facing the zenithal, the imaginary zenithal. Alright, this looks a little too bright, but for this command stand model, I'm okay with its highlights being on the crispier side. Does make the straps look a bit more strappy at least. This is definitely not a standard of highlighting I want to apply to all the models in the unit though, because that would make it take way too long. Yeah, and I really don't want to overdo it with these highlights. Because I find then it distracts too much from the other colors. Because like the brown straps is not the main accent color of really any mini in this army. I do almost want to mix in just a tiny bit of black for some areas where I highlighted just a little bit too much, like right here in the middle of this strap. Yeah, thankfully the army painter's strong tone, especially in these like smaller strap areas, did most of the heavy lifting. Alright, now for the skull cap, I think I do need to highlight it a bit, but gotta be fairly gentle. So I've wiped most of the paint off the brush and I'm doing basically a dry brush. Almost like a dabbing motion. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's looking good. Don't need to bother highlighting the shafts. And these areas of the straps should have been cleaned up better with the base coat before I applied the wash. Thankfully they're kind of on a not very visible part. We also didn't paint the black belt black there. Alright, I think that's the brown done on that one. This one isn't quite as strappy. pick out the most defined of the ridges. Because like I said, the wash is doing most of the heavy lifting. This bracer I could have like color separated a bit more, but I didn't want to. What can I say? Yeah, it's hard to tell what exactly all these straps are supposed to be on the chest, or whether some of them are like pouches or buckles. Okay, a bit to do on the back. Overall, this one much shorter for this stage than the last one. And yeah, I would, if I was painting like just a few of these and not like a full batch of 12, I would be putting a bit more gusto into these leather highlights. But that's not how regiment painting goes. Mostly because you gotta make sure it actually gets freaking done. And you don't burn out. Well, Sparkster, the rank and flank version of the game that me and my community play, this would be like a block of, here I can show you right here. So they go on these stands. And then the minimum size regiment would be 12, so it'd be 3 of these squares. Put them in a line, so that's your rectangle, and that's like kind of the base size unit for this rank and flank game. You can take them off the square stand, play them individually, and play the skirmish game version. So the rank and flank version that I mostly play is called Last Argument of Kings. The skirmish versions is called First Blood. They're both Conquest. Hopefully that makes sense. Alright, on to the leather highlighting for the last one. Or strap highlighting, I should say, to differentiate it from the previous stage. Yeah, the armbands on here are like borderline, don't even need that highlight there. I'm just gonna mix up a dark brown quick, because I just want to color separate the area in the collar here just a little bit, because it just looks a little jank. When it's all black. Yeah, that's fair, Sparkster. You know, it's a non-Games Workshop minis game, so whether or not it's stocked in the local game stores really depends on whether there's anyone in the area willing to organize. Also, hello 80. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Alright, next color to highlight. There's only a couple before we move on to the metallics. And so we'll do green. Yeah, we'll do green next. Gonna start with just the base goblin green. Just a little squirt. This part's mostly to bring the original color back for the areas that got washed a bit too hard. I just gotta stretch while I'm here, or while I'm in between brush strokes. Okay. Alright, now very light touch. Just hitting the folds of this cloth. Sleeves are going to be a little bit trickier just because of there's more areas around there that I gotta avoid painting onto. Oh, new pillows must be difficult to get out of bed then, 80. Yeah, and the underside green sleeve here, I'm not even going to highlight at all because it's just that obscured. It doesn't get any highlights. Okay. Green done on this one. And of course, this guy doesn't even have any green. This is a special leader model. Sleep is important. I recommend getting sleep as a fellow human being. It can be quite enjoyable, actually, to get sleep. Among other human activities like drinking water. You can see there's this fold red in here that got too much wash. I just gotta carefully add a bit more green back in there so it doesn't look like too much of a dark void. And again, I don't want the paint to be too thin. Oh, whoops. Because how rigid this cloth is, it can almost do a bit of a fake dry brush, if that makes sense. Spilled over just a little bit there. Let's fix that. Just mixing some brown on the fly to fix this border. Paint's too thin. We need more pigments in here. we go. These bits of the sleeves don't really need that much green highlighting, because there's only a bit of green showing, really. And they're studded, so the studs are going to take the primary focus. Alright, that one's done. So yeah, there's only 2 green ones to highlight, so I need to just grab the yellow, which I believe I was using golden yellow to mix in for the highlights, just off to the side here. Yes, we got our old model color golden yellow. Only need a little bit of this. Let's just scoop off a little bit more. Yeah, like about that's kind of what we're looking for. A real subtle highlight. Especially for the longbows who don't have the same cloaks as the rangers. The cloaks, the highlights get a bit more intense just because like there's a lot more surface area cloth to work with. Alright, back to these pants. Yeah, that's about what I'm looking for. Definitely gotta concentrate harder for these highlights. Alright, I think we can call that green finished. Are you talking about like a real life longbow you own, Sparkster? Thinning with just a bit of water because I need just a tiny bit more control. pants done. Just a tiny bit to do on the sleeves. Alright, green done on those two. Now I think I'll do red next. How authentic is your longbow? Is it like a wooden one? The English longbowmen would have used in the 100 Years' War, or is this like a modern hunting bow that there's still like longbow types of? Like I said, I'm not an archery expert. Okay, red. We'll grab our scarlet and our terracotta. Especially on the one that doesn't have any green on it. There's like the kind of the reddish leather next to the red, so I do want the red to stand out a bit more, so we're gonna go a bit more vibrant with the mix, I think. At least that's what we're gonna try. So our first round of highlights gonna be terracotta mixed in with the scarlet. And I'm gonna do this one first because there's less red to do, so we'll finish it up first. Just trying to figure out what the proper mix is to start. I do love me some highlighting ridged cloth like this. And yeah, this one's getting this jacket's getting 2 rounds of highlights, and the other one in this current batch I'm painting that is the same jacket is not, but this is like one of the command stand leader models, so it gets just a little bit more attention because it's special. It's a special little kit bash. Like in most games, you always want to put in more effort to like the command models of a unit. Oh, it's gonna be annoying to paint those threads later. Wood and laminate, more modern. Practice your or you get that short recurve bow, practice your horse archery. Alright, I need to add a little bit more scarlet to the palette, I think, for the second highlight. Not pure scarlet, of course, but still nice and red. And of course, only on the ridgiest of ridges now. Bit careful around this chest area though. Don't want to mess up those highlights I've already finished. Alright, just gotta get this part of the jacket now. Alright, red is done on this one. Now for this one, where the red is gonna be a bit more, bit lengthier. Require a bit more attention. Just gotta remix some of our base tone there. Only need to do the pants like a little bit. But I still want to add some. I could just leave them as is, but I want to get some on there just to like help differentiate it from the slightly similar tone of the jacket more. Oh dear, looks like the stream upload is dipping a little bit. Sorry about that. Hopefully that goes away in a moment. Usually it does. If it persists, then I need to end the stream. Hopefully I've given a decent amount to go, or at least I've gotten an hour and 15 minutes of stream going. Better than nothing. Okay, it's kind of like popping. Okay, well, it looks like we're back up now. Cool. As predicted, it just ceased being slow. The YouTube side should catch up momentarily. A proper vampire office you got there, Sparkster. Alright, on to the round 2 highlight. Is there enough on the palette still? I believe so. Alright, now the YouTube part of the stream lag is caught up, it looks like. Crisis averted. Alright, I think that's good enough for the legs. Microphone, that's cool. Alright, sleeves. Spilt a bit onto the gray further, but that's fine because it's basically gonna get a base coat of white towards the end, you know, for the old apothecary white contrast method. It's a GW paint that's still part of my workflow. When the pot runs out, though, I don't think I'll buy another one. I could just mix up something similar. Try to avoid buying Games Workshop products unless I absolutely need to. Because it's just, well, I don't like the pots, and the price is just straight up unreasonable. I don't even think that's a hot take. I do feel like I just need the teeniest little bit more scarlet. Yeah, I could have tried to paint the eyes on this guy, but I kind of with eyes I kind of draw the line, or sometimes I draw the line at painting them when they're like in a recessed area more so than just regular eyes are, you know, when they're eye sockets. Okay, I just want to highlight the top of this head a little bit more. Oh dear, the stream quality has dipped to once again. Apologies for the inconvenience, dear viewers. Alright, I think that red can be called done. Now, there's not much left in terms of the non-metallics. And, okay, brown's done, black's done. So, well, we'll quickly do the purple. Go do the white. Go do the white on this. So I think this green and red guy is ready to just move on to the metallics. Yeah, okay, so we just need to finish up the white and then it's metallics time. Very exciting. Yeah, this is the eternally clogged nozzles, so we just scoop this paint out. Not much spots left on the palette. I guess I'll put the white here and just hope. I mean, I can put it here if it gets contaminated with off-white a bit. I don't think that's a huge deal. Okay, that's a hefty amount of white. Probably too much. If I'm being honest. Yeah, because this current gray base coat is contaminated with Army Painter Strong Tone. I think I'm just going to try and aim for more or less just full white coverage. And then we'll use our gray contrast paint to reshade it. We don't want to be painting like right in the border areas though, just to avoid the risk of spilling over. And that border area is like recessed and gonna get filled with the contrast paint anyways. Defeated by a pizza as in like, is defeated in this context mean you got out of bed? Or did you eat a pizza and then you needed to take a nap and you got back into bed? Alright, that white base coat's done. Now we're doing the same for the fur trim and feather and headband on this lad. Both, okay. Yeah, sounds like a glorious battle indeed. I'm getting hungry. I could wreck a pizza right now. I think I can just power through the last half an hour of this stream or so, though. Maybe there isn't a full half an hour left. We're at least gonna cross the 90 minutes for this stream. That's the rough goal. Well, the main goal is to finish these 3 models. Pretty confident that's gonna happen. Yeah, I could use kind of a dry brushing technique to do the highlighting here, but the gray is more just like the foundation to paint the white on. So this dries, put the contrast paint on, and then we'll do like a very, very light dry brush. I find that makes the feathers and fur appropriately highlighted / shaded. Ooh, we got a bit of white onto the headband, or a head covering there. Can we mop it up? Ooh, I just made it worse. I just made it worse again. Well, you know what, let's just work on the white and we'll just clean up the red after the white's done, because this is proving to be a little finicky, as you can see. Because, you know, there's a good chance I mess up with the headband and the trim of the fur as well. At least right now, the only part that needs to be fixed is the top part of the head covering. We don't want to spill onto the eyes. That'll be a nightmare to fix. But you know, if it happens, we'll deal. We always do. Yeah, I definitely put way too much white on the palette. It feels like I almost got too much white. But I need to paint this side to match. Sorry, that's not really in view, is it? Alright, well, we're on to the fur. I could have painted this feather purple, but I needed a bit more white in the mix. We got the purple handles of the weapons and the quiver. Yeah, you can't go to bed at 6:30. That'll mess up the whole schedule. I mean, you can go to bed at 6:30. I won't stop you. Nothing wrong with being on weird sleep schedules, I suppose. Well, I guess it depends on the sleep schedule. A terrible sleep schedule could be wrong. I'm more just thinking, like, if you work the graveyard shift, I guess, like, your bedtime might be a little out of the ordinary. Alright, let's go back to the green one for a moment. Grab our contrast. You can see this one really likes to separate. Let's move that a bit further away from the mic. I don't need to do it, or it's not separated so much that I need to get out that electronic paint mixer. And now to just carefully apply this slippery sauce. But we need to apply enough of it that it like shades the recesses, so it's a little tricky. But because apply too much and it spills into areas we don't want it. And yeah, I'm not so sure if these sleeves will need a second like white highlight once the contrast is dry. I think we could probably get away without doing it. But the fur on our leader model, we're gonna be doing some highlighting after. And also the feather and like fur is just like a much better receptacle for this contrast paint in the first place. Trying to just quickly sponge up spots where it spills over a bit. Alright, I gotta be extra careful on the headband. Alright, looking good. I am gonna go back to the white to highlight the sleeves just a little bit on the other guy, and part of that is just to give the contrast paint time to dry on the leader model. I mean, I've never had corn on pizza, but I've heard of it before. Also, you guys, like, I saw it on the signs for the pizza restaurant in Japan, because they got weird, like, white sauce pizzas that are popular there that involve, like, scallop potatoes type toppings, and also, like, yeah, sweet corn. Yeah, I can see a barbecue chicken and sweet corn being nice. Not my first go-to for pizza, but that's the thing with pizza. There's such a world of possibilities. Yeah, that's pretty much enough on those sleeves. Okay, now the amount of highlighting to do my... Okay, I do want to do it just a little bit on the fur. And yeah, we just kind of want to hit the ridges of the feather. I think the headband I'll probably just leave. Yeah. Just look at that huge gloop of paint. Almost looks like a dried chunk there. Okay, and I am basically doing a dry brush here, wiping most of the excess. Wiped off a bit too much there, almost. Be really careful not to spill over here. Alright, beauty. Okay, now I must clean up my mistakes on the red. Perhaps I do need to just really quickly highlight the purple quiver, or the purple fletching. Luckily, there's some white on the palette I can use for that. We just need just the tiniest dab, and then we can just mix it into this old purple on the palette. And that should be sufficient for the very brief, I guess, dry brush we're gonna do. You might have seen there the bead of water came off the brush and mixed into the paint on the palette, which is like not desirable at this moment because we are doing like a pseudo dry brush. Alright, let's see how this goes. Oh, we keep falling off this poster tack. Alright, yeah, that's sufficient, I think. You know, this purple fletching definitely came from a magical purple bird. Makes the arrows fly straighter, you know. Okay, now we'll tidy up that red head covering. I think we need to add some pure terracotta back onto the palette. There's just a tiny bit on the bridge of the nose where some white got where it shouldn't have. And like right under the brow. It's about as much as I want to try and fix that before I risk having to redo the eyes, which we don't want to do. Okay, base coat's fixed. Let's mix that first highlight. Need to rejig this poster tag so it sticks better. Oh my god, I just broke his arm off. That's what I get for using super glue. After we're done fixing this red, I'll glue that back on quick. We'll paint the other ones, the metallics on the other ones while the glue's drying. It's just a ball joint, so it's a easy break, easy fix. Alright, let's just grab a bit of scarlet. I think this will end up looking a little bit different than the bottom part of the head coverings, just because I haven't redone the strong tone wash part. But I don't think it'll look different enough that it's a big deal. Yeah, that's fine, honestly. Okay, let's glue this arm back on, and then it is metallics time. And then after that, it's done time. For these three models anyways. Glue. Where are ye? Hopefully this bottle isn't too clogged. That's the problem with super glue bottles. And yes, I should be using plastic cement, I know. I'm just impatient, so I prefer super glue. I think we need to get our pin out. Yeah, this is just a crusty needle I use to poke into the nozzle of the super glue to get it unclogged. Now this is getting crusty enough, it's almost too thick. Let's grab a fresh one. This is riveting content, I know. Okay, we should be able to get enough glue out now. Yeah, there we go. Easy now. Because there is paint on this model, I don't want too much glue to spill out. And gotta try and get it to roughly the same position it was before. Not quite like that, I think just a little bit. Okay. I just gotta leave that to dry now. I need a quick drink of water. I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, I just need a bit of hydration to get through the last bit of this stream. Blue Parappa says hi, by the way. Oh dear, I just dropped a pin on the floor. Crisis averted. Okay. So we've got the bronze metallics done already. Oh, actually, I don't know if this, I think it only on, yes, this one here, the bow has these kind of stitches that I need to pick out with the off-white. Very gently. Should take like a minute. Just use some leftover paint on the palette to achieve this. And this is just straight up gonna be a dry brush. We only needed the teeniest bit to give it the desired effect. Just using like the side of the brush essentially. And then just a little bit at the top here. Yeah, that's good enough, really. I want to say there was just a teeny bit of red that can be touched up on the sleeve. where it was glued back on. Yeah, basically just that. Okay, we will close up the palette for a bit now. Oh, that's a good idea, to heat up the paper clip to ream the glue hole. Alright, do we think we need to switch to a different brush? I'm just not sure which one out of all the ones I have on hand. We might need to break out a different brush. Let's see here. Definitely a synthetic brush. Doesn't need to be like the absolute crispiest one we got. Maybe this one? Alright, let's start with this one, see how it goes. I hope I remembered to store my silver upside down. Yes, I did. Good, good. This is mostly going to be stud painting here. A few blades, though. Let's do those blades first, because they're likely going to need a second coat. Oh, and of course the heads of the warhammers. This will probably could use a metallic wash, a selective one. I think we'll need to give it 2 coats first. Okay, now the knives. Probably by the time I'm done base coating the knives, the hammer can get its second base coat, I hope. Oh, we didn't paint that crossguard gold on the other side. I guess we're going to be tempted to touch up that gold. And of course by gold I mean Vallejo model colored bronze. One of these knives is like kind of a hunting knife, and then one of them is just like a really, really big dagger. Borderline a short sword, perhaps. I'm not so sure if the hammer's ready for its second coat yet. So I'm going to get the first coat on this hammer, which is the exact same one. And yeah, you could argue that maybe I wouldn't need a second coat if I wasn't thinning the paint, but I do want to avoid like egregious brush strokes, if you know what I mean. Alright, that one doesn't have a knife to base coat, but this one does. We just gotta be very gentle because this glue's probably still drying a little bit. I don't think the pressure of like the paintbrush applying paint, that would be enough to crack the glue or break the glue seal. Should be more like cured enough by now. Arming sword, yeah. I'm not enough of a sword expert to say for sure, but that sounds like a bit of a more accurate description, perhaps. Oh no, I messed up and got some on the boot there. Guess I'll have to fix that. I should just do that now before I forget. Pretty easy fix. All things considered. There we go. Second base coat on this one's hammer now. Kinda need more paint on the palette though. Maybe there's just enough to finish this hammer. The hammer's base coat, that is. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Now it's time for some meticulous stud painting. And we'll switch to the crispier brush we pulled out of the drawer. See how it goes. Just got a lot of studs to do here. And really, just a little dab on each is all we need. Don't need to overthink it. And of course, we got the buckle here too. Be a few of those to do. You know, with the sheer amount of strappage on these lads. I'm really in concentration mode now. And I guess we do have on the other ranges, we did paint these to just be like mystery canisters and this bandolier going across the shoulder. And if we can kind of paint it in a way where the black base coat is still showing for the shading purposes. Because We only just need like the metal glint of the canisters, if that makes sense. So far so good on these studs. I don't think I've made any egregious mistakes. I do kind of just want to paint these as full-on buckles, though. Yeah, we do need to add some gold to some areas of the bow we missed there. All right, this forearm bracer here is we're stud maxing on this one. There's a lot of studs. I messed up a bit there. First screw up on the studs. Can I mop this up? I don't know. You know what? Let's paint the rest of the studs, and then we'll see how many mistakes there are to clean up. And of course, when you're just applying a little droplet of paint with a tiny brush, the paint dries on the tip of the brush fairly often, so you gotta like keep going back to the palette. Could that be all the studs on this one? I think it might be. Alright, I'm just gonna move on to the next one before I go back to fixing this one. We have passed the 2-hour mark. At least on the streaming software, it's probably a minute or so behind on the YouTube stream, but I think I'm just gonna like use up the rest of the silver on the palette, paint some studs, and then we'll wrap up the stream, because really the rest of the painting on these is gonna be pretty tedious. So I think I'm just gonna power through it off stream after I've had something to eat, because the tummy is grumbling a bit, not gonna lie. And painting on an empty stomach when you need to be super precise isn't ideal. But I was initially thinking this might be a 90-minute stream, so making it to 2 hours is nice. Nice and consistent. Yeah, painting the studs on these really makes the details pop out, really brings it all together. Whoever sculpted these minis, though, sure liked their studded leather armor. Alright, this is gonna be the last load of paint on the brush for this stream. Ooh, a little too thin there. Had some spillage. We're just overall too thin now. Alright, that's pretty much all the paint used up on the palette. Alright, well, it's like, we're technically not finished, but we basically are. We'll get these 3 done today, which is the main goal, and done enough for the purposes of this stream. I'd like to thank you all for joining me for this is the 800 Kingdom stream, and the final one. Gonna be probably 2 or 3 weeks before the next stream. I'm powering through the rest of this unit to finish my army list for a tournament on the 24th. Then I got a decent amount of project planning to do. But the next stream will be a plastic model kit from Bandai, so you can all look forward to that. It'll either be like the stream will happen relatively soon, I'll be building it, or I'll build it off camera to do some sort of like ASMR sequence, and then you might have to wait a bit longer for a stream, but we're definitely going to stream the painting of it either way. My content for 2026 is not based around any actual content plan. It's more based around just like, well, I need this painting project done by this date for a in real life thing, and then the streaming and other things is just a bonus. And again, I thank you all for joining me on the streams when you can. It is a good armor style Sparkster. Alright, I hope you all have a fantastic start to this week. And I will see you all next time. Have a good one.